Call this meeting to order. It is Monday, January 13th, 2014, 7 p.m. We're calling the regular meeting of the Gladstone City Commission to order. And our first item on the agenda is invocation. That will be led by Commissioner Jay Bostwick. Please rise.
God, may what we begin tonight in effort and cooperation be done with your inspiration, continued with your help, and completed with your guidance, and help us in our efforts. Help us to persevere with faith, courage, and sincerity. In your name.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will Kirk call the roll, please?
Commissioner Nemechek,
Here.
Commissioner Bostwick,
Here.
Commissioner Gay,
Here.
Commissioner Mattinen,
Here.
Mayor Mackey.
Here. Next item on the agenda is public comment. I don't see anybody who wants to comment, so I think we'll move on. Conflict of interest, that would be just in case any of the commissioners had something that they thought would be a conflict that's on the agenda for tonight.
Under item C there, on the new business, just a possibility, I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on, we have the consent agenda, which consists of the City Commission regular meeting minutes of December 9, 2013, the Board Review meeting minutes of December 10, 2013, the EDC regular meeting minutes of December 10, 2013, the DDA regular meeting minutes of November 13, 2013, DDA regular meeting minutes of December 10, 2013, the Parks and Recreation regular meeting minutes of December 3, 2013, and we have payment of bills on the consent agenda.
I'd move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Mattinen, supported by Commissioner Nemechek to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion is carried. We don't have any public hearings tonight, and we don't have any unfinished business. So the next item on our agenda is new business, the Josh King development. That, I think, have we already discussed that with the new commission in place at all? So
No.
there might be some background necessary before. Okay.
Yep, I thought of that earlier today. Just kind of, I put some dates down and some boards that this has been discussed in front of in the past. So the first purchase and sale agreement that the City Commission approved was signed and dated December 10th, 2012. The project went to the Planning Commission. Site plan was approved in February 2013. The first amended purchase and sale agreement was approved and signed August 19th, 2013. And just, if you want to maybe back up and I'll explain kind of back. Josh King came to the city, prior to December 10th, 2012. Staff and I have been working with him for a development down in what we call our bullpen area that Public Works currently uses. He's planning development that's going to occur in stages. So as we work our way through some permitting processes and whatever, that is what brings us to amending these agreements that we have. We are moving forward. We continue to move forward. So tonight we have before you.
I think it's important to note that we're moving forward. There's been bumps in the road,
Absolutely.
and you've worked through every one of them.
Yep. So, Friday, for example, we wanted this, to come before you tonight. So I apologize that the copies that were in your packet aren't the most professional, but that's what I had at the time, so that's what went out with the packet. Before you tonight were new agreements, and I just wanted to point out the difference in those agreements. So what we were kind of waiting for is a phone call. On this transaction, we started out with Butch Quinn, Rosemary, attorney representing the city, like we traditionally do. Probably 6-8 months ago, when we started working on the Bottomlands application and the permitting process for that piece of it, we went to Attorney Don Bacon, who in the past has represented the city in similar applications when it comes to the Bottomlands. So I apologize if it looks like we're flip-flopping attorneys, but you know, if an attorney has some history in a certain area, we'll go back to that attorney to help us in that area. So
Just so you guys understand, if you see the survey that was included in the package, this is called a meander line. That's where the government originally surveyed when they did Gladstone. Everything exists beyond there, according to the state, is an unpatented bottom line, which you have to get special title to. It wasn't there when they did the original survey.
correct. So we've worked with Mike Peterson Surveying. He's done several versions of this survey. This final survey that's in your packet tonight will be submitted with the DEQ permitting application, that whole process. So we were kind of, and that's dated November 12th, 2013, so that's the latest version of the survey. We had a phone, Don Bacon and I had a phone call Friday afternoon with Jill Martin. She's doing the baseline environmental assessment on all this property. So we just wanted to make sure that, you know, if the city, you know, had any liability when it came to, you know, any contamination on this property. All of her analysis so far, what she's found there was there prior to the city acquiring that property, so we wouldn't be liable for any kind of cleanup issues there. So that was good news as of Friday. So the agreements that were in front of you tonight, the agreement regarding real estate, the only difference in that document is one sentence on page 2, letter A. It's been added, upon substantial completion, Gladstone shall execute a quitclaim deed to King, releasing the right of reverter as to parcel 1. So a right of reverter, so the city owns the property now, we sell it to Mr. King, and he has, you know, a certain amount of time to develop the property. If he doesn't, the property reverts back to the city. That's basically what this is saying. If he completes 80% of what he tells us he's going to do there, not a problem. We'll give him a deed and get that off, the right of reverter off of that. So that was the only change on that one. And the supplemental agreement, the only change on that one was on page 1, number 3 was added. So if you look at the survey and we sell all 20 acres to Mr. King, we still need access to that. So there's the westerly 66 feet of parcel 1 for ingress, egress, and utilities to benefit parcel 2. If we sold them parcel 1, didn't sell them parcel 2, we would need an easement to get back to parcel 2 for these reasons. So that's the only difference in the documents between your packet and what was before you tonight. We are ready to close on parcel 1, which if you look on the survey, this line right here, 431.78 feet there west. That parcel, we're ready to close any day. I think Mr. Bacon said we had to get, we had to add this 1.62 acre parcel to title insurance. Should be, there shouldn't be anything on it or anything found in title insurance, so that should not be, you know, any hang up or anything. We would go ahead and give them a deed for that parcel, and then, as I explained in the staff report tonight, parcel 2 is working with the state in acquiring the bottomlands. That's going to be kind of a lengthy process, not because we want it to be lengthy, but there's a 90-day comment period that we just have, you know, submit these applications to everybody and wait for comments over 90 days. But we feel, you know, by going through with parcel 1, that would get Mr. King ready to remodel the building that's down there yet this winter, and as soon as we can in the spring, we would run the water and sewer lines to that property. He would like to be operational there as soon as he can in the spring, so that's what we would tackle as soon as we can get a shovel in the ground.
Biggest issue I see before the commission tonight, unless we want to entirely revisit this, which I wouldn't suggest, is there's been a lot of back and forth discussion about the reverter clause. And previously, the city of Gladstone has a long history of not wanting to sell property for speculation purposes. They want to see the property they sell be developed to benefit the community. And Mr. King's original development was definitely a benefit to the community in adding tax base and employment base. So that's why the commission approved selling this land to Mr. King. And there's been a lot of hang-ups on overhead utilities, title issues, Mr. King's other projects which take up some of his time and makes it hard for him to plan when he can take the time to start a development there. And so those are the big issues that I see, and I think that the city manager, and I've had several conversations with her, has stayed with this diligently so that this project still can be a reality in Gladstone. So that's how I look at it as a city commission member. We task our staff to work out the details.
So what exactly does he want to do with the property?
Well, over 3 years, he tells us 8 to 10 new jobs. He has 2 manufacturing companies right now in Escanaba. He wants to bring one of them here because what happens, the space that he's leasing now in Escanaba, it's not large enough. So when he gets one order in for one company, he moves all of his stuff aside, works on that order. When he gets an order for the other company, he moves all that stuff aside, works on that product. So he needs more space, and there's no room where he's at to expand. So if he brings one of those companies here, that company will be basically repairing Coast Guard pumps. So the access to the water and all the development out here on the bottomlands, looking to eventually get the whole Coast Guard ship here and subcontract other work.
I think the bigger reason is really what you described is true, that he has space considerations that make it hard for him to run his 2 businesses where he's at over in the old Harnischberger complex. But I think his bigger reason to want to be here is so that he can be on the waterfront, because his long-range plan is to drive sheet steel and do some dredging behind that sheet steel once the sheet steel is driven into the ground there, and be able to bring a large Coast Guard vessel right into port here and be able to work on it. So this is an ideal location for the type of business he does long-term compared to where he's at right now.
Okay, I understand too, he has quite a few pumps that he goes through in a year.
Okay.
It's not 1 or 2, he goes through many of these.
He gets 30 at a time is what he tells us.
And his other project is he makes complete cabs for Harnischberger cranes,
Okay.
and then ships them to Milwaukee.
Okay.
But that's what he does in Escanaba, and that, I think initially, at least, he's going to leave it there.
Okay.
And the building that Darla talked about is the existing building the city of Gladstone built probably 20 years ago or better that would be turned over. So it creates another problem for us, and that's to find a new home for our Public Works Department, because that's their storage area. But we knew that one going in.
Right. And in the amended lease here, we are leasing the westerly portion of the current bull plan to keep part of our equipment stored there until we can find a home for it.
So where the salt and the sand is,
Yep.
that's going to still stay that way?
When the salt is gone this spring, we plan to disassemble that salt storage shed
Yeah.
and move it.
Okay.
But any equipment that's parked along the fence line, that would have to stay there until we find a new home for it, or.
Okay.
I believe it's the best thing that we can do is get out of the way and allow this to happen. I mentioned this to Darla, but just so it's on the record, the agreement regarding real estate on the second page, section B, subsection 1, the second sentence, the word application, the third word in the sentence just needs to be changed to permit. Other than that, I would move to allow the city manager to sign the agreements
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Gay, supported by Commissioner Mattinen to approve the Josh King development, allow the city manager to sign the agreement regarding real estate and the supplemental agreement. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, that motion is carried. Next item on new business is the 2013 recreation plan pushed at us through the Parks and Recreation Department after a meeting I just attended of the Parks and Recreation Commission. I gotta tell you, I really like the work those guys are doing. They're really proud of their department and the things they do for the community. So this is a product of their diligence.
So Ms. Anderson can't be with us tonight, so I just told her I would explain. The rec plan, just like the city's master plan, needs to be redone every 5 years. So that was the time to do this. During that process, staff reviews the whole document, and then we send it to several agencies around the county and state, and that kind of opens up a 60-day comment period. All comments need to be brought back to the city clerk, and we did not receive any comments in that 60-day period. So it is now time to submit this plan to the state of Michigan, and by submitting it to the state of Michigan, any grants that we apply for, they make sure that that project is identified in this master plan. So it's very important that we really look out 5 years and any possible thing that we could apply for and do in the next 5 years. And that's what the rec board has done here. I attended most of the meetings where they kind of did that future planning and kind of moved projects around different years, and it's pretty aggressive, but if it's not in here, then we, could be forfeiting grant money, so better to be put in here. And
I didn't remember did we have the irrigation for the ball fields included in this?
Well,
That's going to be taken care of anyways by Handle, isn't it?
it is, but to say that specific, this section of pipe, for it's, as long as it's in the plan, new fields, we would, anything that we would have to put in to create those fields or maintain the fields is kind of encompassed in the projects.
So we have a little
Yeah.
latitude as far
Yeah.
as specificity.
We're going to continue phase 2 of the harbor docks. We don't need to say we're going to do, 14 or 25, or as long as it's, kind of encompassing that whole area, the whole project.
Yeah, the rec board, along with the people that have been involved in this, have done, I think, a fantastic job. It's been well thought out. It's specific for the short term and for future. And like you said, Darla, it's somewhat aggressive.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting to see it on paper, the possibilities here, and it's a good plan, I think.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, when I was running for the commission, I really wanted like a bike path heading towards Escanaba, so I'm real happy to see that's on there.
That is a big project. I've been pushing them really hard on that, and if they can get that done over to Bayview, that sets them up for when the highway is redone. But they probably won't follow the highway corridor. They'll probably follow the old highway corridor, so the bikes aren't competing with automobile traffic, which is going pretty fast. And after that point, Tim, then if I'm still around here, I want Tim to go out towards Kipling, but Nicole already told me, let's get one thing done first.
Next 5 years.
Yeah. One thing I was wondering, though, is I didn't study this very much, but is there anything that they can do in the ski hill in the summertime, like biking down it, or anything that's...
Get a hold of the master plan we just accomplished for the sports park. There's several things they've talked about doing there.
Yeah, in the back, there's a couple maps attached. We would like to redo the Cannon Field, possibly add a fourth ball field, an archery range, a dog park, a designated walking trail, zip line over the existing terrain park, and disc golf. Disc golf was proposed over by the compost site, but one of the gentlemen at one of the meetings said, you know, if we could get even 9 holes of the disc golf on the hilly part,
Yeah.
that would be a lot more challenging.
Right.
So disc golf was proposed, and then also our current tube lanes could also be converted to a dry slide. You put kind of a plastic mesh down the hill or something and use some similar tubes, and so a lot was proposed for summer use for this whole area, if we can get the grant funds lined up to make it happen. So that was some of the main ones pointed out.
So I do
There's
bel-
just one little other thing here on the, where it talks about it. The proposal. Planning process. It said
What page?
33. It was said that the city commission then adopted the plan at a public meeting on December 23rd, 2013. Well, we didn't have a meeting that
Oh.
day for one.
Yeah, that's gonna have to be changed to January 13.
I thought you said you didn't read this.
Well, not the maps, it's kind of hard to read the
Okay.
maps, but. But I thought it was a good plan.
No? Can we get a motion to approve this one?
I make a motion to approve it.
I'll support.
Motion by Commissioner Bostwick, supported by Commissioner Nemechek to approve the 2013 recreation plan. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion is carried. We have a letter from Teamsters Union Local 406. It's time to start negotiating again with the Teamster employees, which is the electric department folks, the water and wastewater department folks, the public works department folks.
And one
There-
at City Hall.
And one employee who works at City Hall, correct. The public safety officers work under a separate union. In the past, I've been involved in labor negotiations. I'd like to continue. I don't know if anybody else has an interest or not.
I'd be willing to do it again.
Anybody else? We usually have 2 commissioners to sit down with the city manager and work on labor negotiations.
Do you want that in the form of a motion, Mr. Mayor?
I think we probably should, yes.
I would move that the mayor and Commissioner Gay serve on that negotiating team.
I second it.
Motion Commissioner Matten and support by Commissioner Bostwick that the mayor and Commissioner Gay serve with the city manager on the negotiating team for the upcoming Teamsters contract. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion is carried. Next item on our agenda is the annual manager and clerk evaluations. I realize that for Commissioners Nemechek and Bostwick, this is somewhat of a new process. I had an email communication with you, I believe,
Yeah.
Commissioner Bostwick. And there's really no way to soften this other than to just jump into the water and see how deep it is. Obviously, the city clerk is not with us tonight. Darla called me today, and she is prepared to go with her evaluation tonight. I'm prepared if there's no objections from the commission, but we generally, the employee has the right to go into a closed session or to have their evaluation open session. I'm thinking we're probably going to want to go into executive session.
Yes, please.
So there are probably some other items, such as the city manager's report and the commissioner comments, et cetera, we should probably get to before we move to that agenda item.
Sure.
That's okay. City manager's reports.
I have a handout here tonight. There's an ordinance that staff tried to amend a couple years ago, parking and storage of recreational vehicles and equipment. I think here's a copy for you. It has been brought back to staff, and we recently formed another subcommittee, went through the ordinance that we had, went through the proposed changes last time, and before you is a draft of what we're proposing. Not looking for any action tonight. What we're planning to do, and this is just what I'd like to get your blessing on this, before the next City Commission meeting, January 27th, we would like to have a meeting from 5:30 till about 6:30. Put it in the newspaper and just let anybody from the public come and comment. Before we even get to the public hearing stage, you know, here it's just input on what we're proposing. We had a lot of public input the last time we tried to amend this. So if you're okay with that, then January 27th during the commission meeting, we could set, the process would be, you know, to set a public hearing to get even more, you know, that's the process we go through, more public comment, and then move it on through for approval or disapproval based on the public hearing. So just wanted to see, you know, is your schedule, you don't have to attend January 27th. I plan to facilitate the meeting and have all the key players there who drafted this. Planning Commission has commented on it. And we'll just take notes and amend as we see necessary based on those comments. But, you know, definitely wanted you to know that you're welcome to come there and listen to the comments.
Commissioner Nemechek and I have a mutual friend who's on our planning commission, and she has told me a number of times, if this comes back before you, you better adopt it. So they did a lot of work last time, and they weren't too happy when it didn't get adopted. So you know who I'm referring to.
Oh, yeah.
So I wasn't around at the time. I didn't have anything to do with this.
So read it over. If you have comments on it, you know, if you want to let us know comments before January 27th, that's fine. Or attend the January 27th meeting, that's fine too.
Is that here at 5:30?
Right here at 5:30. Mm-hmm. Yep. Started my budget meetings today with department heads. For those of you that have not gone through a budget process yet, pretty much the month of December, we give all the information to our department supervisors as far as benefits go and anything that's in a union contract. They put numbers on paper, and then they meet with Vicki Schrader, the treasurer, and I, and all of that gets imported into our general ledger software. And then January 27th, the next city commission meeting, we will be coming to you to set up some budget meetings. Those are open to the public. We will present to you at that time what we feel. It may be a balanced budget, it may not be a balanced budget. If it's not, we're looking for direction from you to help us balance it. Hopefully it'll be balanced. Usually is, but sometimes it's not. Some funds are not balanced. So those meetings have started. Working with the local EDC board, and we have decided to schedule some more strategic planning sessions specifically for the EDC board. The EDC board and I feel like that board kind of became a lone review board, and we really lost our focus on how to promote economic development within the city. So I have contacted the local Michigan Works, and they have set us up with somebody that does strategic planning for them. And so we will begin that process starting in February at the EDC regular monthly meeting.
And at some point in time, they're probably going to have a joint meeting with the DDA.
Mm-hmm.
Because the DDA has taken on marketing more in the downtown commercial business area, and so they kind of could dovetail.
Right. I've been working on, since the DDA purchased the 911 Delta Avenue building downtown, been trying to line up some contractors on some repairs there. So come this spring, we will be ready to open that building to the public. I've also been working on all city employees have Michigan Conference of Teamsters Welfare Fund health insurance. It's the Teamsters health insurance plan. And our 5 years of contributions or vesting has been completed now or fulfilled. And some employees that have been on the active plan need to move over to a retiree plan now. That's a requirement of the Teamsters. This isn't exactly spelled out that way in their union contract, so we had a meeting week and a half ago with the Teamsters Union, so that's kind of above and beyond the current negotiating with the current staff, so I've been working with that issue. We had a meeting last Friday with the DPW subcommittee. We put an RFP out for a design bid concept for a DPW building. We received 6 bids back, and last Friday we've narrowed that down to 2 bids. January 27th, we do plan to just present to the public and the rest of the commission kind of what we put out, what we were looking for in a building, and then what the two contractors are recommending, and along with prices probably, and be looking for some direction on how to move that forward. And lastly, I hope you all saw the Daily Press January 3rd edition. Ilsa and I exchanged emails and had a couple conversations about accomplishments of 2013 and looking ahead at 2014. Talked to a couple people about this article from the community, and if this doesn't say pretty loud and clear that we rely heavily on grants, that's, you know, above and beyond operations, there is no money in the current city budget to do anything above. We really have to rely on grants to get things done. So staff in Parks and Recreation, Renee in Community Development has done a good job. It takes staff from all departments to put those grant applications together, and I have to commend my staff. They really do a good job on seeking the grants and making it work once we get the money. So we will continue on that in 2014 as well. That's all I have.
City Commission and committee reports and board and commission reports. This is where if you attended a meeting or anything like that on behalf of the City Commission with one of our boards, I do have some to report. I attended a 911 authority meeting on behalf of Public Safety Director Geyer. When I was sent to the meeting, he said, under no circumstances will you allow me to be elected to an office. And I said, well, you do realize that people a lot of times get elected to an office when they miss a meeting. He says, are you listening? Do not allow me to get elected, Jerry. So he did get elected. The 911 authority is looking at possibly reducing millage again to support the 911 that we all benefit from. My history goes back to when each law enforcement agency and ambulance and probably a couple other entities all supported their own dispatching, and they all had to have somebody sitting there answering the phone, which was kind of inefficient. And they do have some new funding from some new legislation on telephones, which is going to help them reduce their millage, and they are continually reinvesting in technology. As you can imagine, technology is forever and changing as fast as you can imagine. All other, you know, for instance, your own home laptop, in 3 years you should replace it every 3 years. Well, they're doing some major investing with their fund balance to keep up with technology so that they have what they report as a state-of-the-art 911 authority. They're looking at perhaps moving in, or not moving, but providing service to some neighboring counties as well. So I attended that meeting. I attend every DDA meeting. Darla has already told you about the DDA's plans, and we talked about how the DDA and the EDC might start doing some things together, since the EDC needs a new mission, and they seem eager to want a new mission. And I attended the joint government meeting on December 11th. I didn't write a note as to what was going on, so it couldn't have been too much important other than people talking. But Darla has asked me to go to the January 15th joint government meeting. All the rest of the commission should be invited to that as well on the city's website if you haven't gotten used to checking on that. Darla wants me specifically to look at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation's next Michigan Development Program and the Central UP Micropolitan District, which the City of Escanaba and the City of Marquette took the lead on in creating through the state legislature.
What was this?
Yeah. So that's the meetings that I've attended. If there's nothing else, we would move again back to public comment, which there is none. So we're back to City Commissioner comments. Commissioner Nemechek.
I wanted to commend the All Saints Church and the Methodist Church for involving themselves and allowing their facilities to be used for the Hope at the Inn for the homeless. I think those are the only two Gladstone churches. But I just wanted to commend them and thank them for doing that.
On behalf of my church, I'm going to be pulling a couple of nights, and I understand you pulled some for your church.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
And initially there was nobody there, but now they're reporting 2 to 4 people are staying there at night?
Yes.
Who probably would have had to find someplace to crash or maybe
Well,
get lost in a public building or something at night.
The important part about Hope at the Inn is that in the past, the Salvation Army put people up in motels, but for a maximum of a week. And they didn't have money to do more than that, and the money we got from the state, the Army got from the state, that's as long as you could do it. But with Hope at the Inn, they could be all winter, which is a big difference.
Got pretty cold last week.
Yeah, but it's, I know Marquette's been at this for 4 or 5 years, and they have people that are there all winter.
I think there were about 8 different churches that have been participating in this, if I'm
Right,
correct.
the 2 from Glasgow and the rest are from Escanaba.
Well, I'm working from 2 to 6 with my significant other fiance, so we'll keep each
Really?
other awake.
Good work, Joe.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bostwick.
None.
Commissioner Gay.
I have nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Mattman.
I have nothing as well.
I have a couple other things. When I went to the 911 meeting Monday, January 27, 2014, 8:30 a.m. our time in the Circuit Courtroom, 310 Ludington Street, there will be, there's an invitation for stakeholders in the Delta County Jail. Sheriff Baldwin gave this to me. He's looking for some people to show up. Basically, in a nutshell, they've been bubblegumming the Delta County Correctional Facility for a number of years, and they feel it really makes no sense to do that anymore, that they ought to be looking at a longer-term solution. We've all heard, you know, a central jail, and that never really gets off the ground there, so they're taking the bull by the horns, so to speak, and saying, well, we probably should be thinking about a new jail, much like we're thinking about a new public works facility. So if you're interested in that meeting,
What was the date on that? I'm sorry.
that would be Monday, January 27, 2014, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and he promises to get you out of there at 10 a.m. I told Gary, I said, you better stick to that. People have other places to go. Regarding the Teamsters retirees insurance, I was contacted by some of the retirees. They were, shall we say, not happy about what they heard, but I made contact with Darla right away, and then I spoke with one of the Teamsters, current Teamster employees, and I believe there was probably some misunderstandings there that certainly the administrative staff was not responsible for. They probably got blamed for it, and that's unfortunate. But I think that's going to work itself out. I don't think everybody will be happy about it, but it is what it is. It's a contract that we signed, and I guess we weren't all aware of what the contract said. I am a member of the DDA, so I go to those meetings. I copied some articles. The City of Escanaba, there was an article on refinancing debt. We've talked about that several times. With the rate of return on idle cash, so to speak, versus old debt that's paying much higher interest rates on it. They're looking at refinancing some of their debt, and we've talked about the same thing in previous commissions. We have some outstanding debt that we've looked at reprogramming as well. I thought your article on the major projects was very well written, and I thought it really, you know, touched on several of the major things that we've been able to accomplish in times when it's pretty tight. Governor Snyder had an article in the paper about how he don't expect much to happen in Michigan this year because it's an election year, so we aren't going to see anything new, is what he thinks. We all read about Detroit's bankruptcy ruling there, and they basically said that legacy costs such as pensions and post-employment insurance and all those kinds of things are on the board. So I assume they're all getting more anxious now and negotiating them with greater urgency about those issues, because that could have major impact, and of course it would have impact on us as well. Then I saw there was an article on the recycling center, which I think is what you brought up at the last commission meeting. So that's what I copied for my notes. If there's nothing else, I think the city clerk is not here, so I'm assuming there's no city clerk comments tonight? Or did you have something you... No, okay. By the way, thank you for showing up tonight. I'm sure your family is waiting at home for you. We would be going then to new business annual manager evaluation. Darla's indicated she'd like to go into closed session for that. I believe we need a motion and a support to go into executive session, and then we have to have a roll call vote.
I'd move that we go into executive session for purposes of the annual manager evaluation.
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Gay, supported by Commissioner Mattinen to go into executive session to conduct the city manager's annual evaluation. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Nemechek,
Yes.
Commissioner Bostwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Mattinen,
Yes.
and Mayor Mackey.
Yes. We are in executive session. Are we going to go